Hi, I'm Maria Dancing Hart, author of The Last Adventure of Life. This is an inspirational resource book to help people with end-of-life care. And some people who work hospice, as I have done for many years, say that it's a wonderful introduction to hospice. Today's question is about other cultures and other traditions and what some of them may have to offer us in our understanding of grief and death and the rituals that can help us at these times. One of the things I've become aware of here in America is that we are lacking in ritual. Our culture has become quite bland, and maybe because we've had so many cultures come into this country, instead of honoring those cultures and going deep with them, we've kind of become a so-called melting pot. And the drawback of that is that none of the cultures hold a deep sway anymore. But people who are connected to their heritage and to their cultures and customs sometimes have very wonderful resources to share with us. And I happen to grow up in Japan, so I know a little bit about some of the rituals there around death and grief. And when a person dies in Japan, immediately the surrounding family, the close family and friends, are invited to help to wash and bathe the body and then clothe it in a ceremonial or whatever is important garb that then they will be cremated in. In Japan, there is very little extra space, so it's just automatic that a person is cremated rather than buried in the ground. And so, anyway, the family gathers. And one time my father was invited to come to bathe and dress a young minister who had died in their community. And this was a great honor for my father to participate at this sacred time. And another custom that I remember after a death occurs is that every month on the day that that person died, say a person dies on the 15th of the month, then every month on the 15th, someone from the temple, usually the Buddhist temple, comes to the home and shares some scripture and prayer and chanting with the family as a way of honoring that day and that time. And at least for the first year, every month, that day is honored and remembered. And I believe that that might be a custom that we could honor in our culture too, or anyone could use that as a way to remember and honor their loved one. In that vein, I often say to people who are grieving, that first year of grief is very key and very important, very new, because this is the first year that you have done things without this loved one being with you. So plan those special days in advance. Plan your holiday around Thanksgiving or Christmas or that person's birthday or that Mother's Day or Father's Day, when you might especially be thinking of that person. Do something, create a ritual that would be meaningful for you, and that might vary according to who you are. But if you might want to purchase flowers that day, or light a candle, or go to a special place, or set a table for that person at your table, and really remember that person and honor them, create a space for them. That's another thing that's done in Japan, actually. There is a little shrine that is honored. In Japan, the ancestors are very much honored in the home. And so there's usually a space in which the ancestor is remembered with a picture and some artifacts. And when there's a special meal or a special day in a family, then part of the meal that is prepared is actually prepared and separated and offered to the loved one's honor and their memory. So there are these little ways in which we can create openings to the deceased and to our loved ones to remember them and make that connection to them. Because when we are bereaved, we have this great hole, we have this tremendous part of us that's missing. But the good news is that we have a hole into the next realm in which we are connected to them. And just think, perhaps your mom or your aunt or grandparent is your new link to the other side, and they may be seen as your new connection, your new guardian angel on the other side. In fact, I've heard it said in Buddhism that if our guardians and our loved ones are able to help us from the other side, that they get brownie points on the other side for helping us. So you can see the gift in our asking for help, because then if they can help us out, it's a win-win situation. We get the help we need, and they get the brownie points for helping us. So truly this interconnect between the next world and this world is a key piece for our lives, and it can help us lead better lives too if we become more and more aware of it. I think too of the Irish wake, and how in the Irish tradition there is great joy and exuberance and, storytelling that happens through the time right after a loved one dies, and much time and energy is spent around just being with the loved ones of that person. In fact, one of the most profound times after death that I've experienced is when I was invited to come out to a home where a young man who had been dealing with ALS had just died. And when I contacted his wife, having heard that he had died, she said, "Oh, come on by, we're gathered here at the home." And sure enough, when I got there, there were cars and cars and people, and it was like they were having a big party for this man who had died. And he was indeed a wonderful, loving man. He had shared himself with many, many people. And it was as if all that love was flowing back into the home. And even there had been a special phone call that had come to the wife shortly after his death with the tune, "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." And this was a man who had dedicated his life to music, and he had also sung as an ALS patient. He had gone and sung in many ball games. And so the wife was certain that it was his sign of letting her know that he had made it home safely when her phone rang, and she didn't know who it was who was calling. But there was a strong sense that that was him, and his love was coming through to let her know that he had made it safely home.